Well, I was thinking about doing my next Raw review when they brought the crowds back. But I decided, you know what? I clicked on one YouTube video to see what was going on with Jackson Riker. I heard the rumors that he's going to be breaking out on his own, which I fully support. And then I saw the Shayna Baszler Alexa Bliss segment, people calling it one of the worst segments of all time. And I'm like, how can I possibly resist? So I'm making an exception. We're going to be doing a full-fledged Raw review here, guys. I wouldn't get too excited because after watching this episode, it definitely cemented the fact that I am not on board to do this all the time. Because I really think that I would collapse at this point if I had to review Raw and SmackDown. And especially because I will be reviewing Hell in the Cell. I'm definitely going to... I took a break from Backlash, but I'm gonna press on. You know, I got Peacock now. I'm going to use it. I'm going to be watching those pay-per-views and reviewing them right here for you guys. So you could all look forward to that. So let's get into this show. So, we've got AJ and Omos, you know, they're making fun of the tag teams. We're all set for a tag team battle royal. And they're, like, praising some of the teams. And, like, there's just nothing here being said. He hands the mic over to Omos. And he asks them to describe their team, AJ and himself. And he's like, magnificent, phenomenal. And, like, it's just... You know, why is this big man, why does he have to be made into a goof? When's the last time AJ cut a promo that actually meant something? Like, it's just a big fucking joke. And the bad thing is, it's a big fucking joke, and it's not even funny. Now, then you got J-Mo coming out, John Morrison, who I said, you know, I always advocate for this guy. I'm a big fan. He's got Miz in the wheelchair. And I did laugh because he did the slow-mo intro when he's got his fist up in the air. He let go of the wheelchair, and Miz went flying down the ramp, and he has this overly exaggerated scream, you know, in slow motion. And I laughed at that. That was actually kind of funny. But then I kind of thought to myself, you know, oh shit, this guy used to be WWE champion just a few months ago. And, like, you know, what was that supposed to be, a big joke? You know, they fed him to Lashley, and that's supposed to be it. Now we've got J-Mo, where this guy looks like $1 million. I mean, do you see the physique on this man? I mean, this is a guy where you gotta believe, if treated right, I mean, the athleticism, the look on this guy, he's come so far. You go back on the network, and you watch some of his old M&M promos, and they're horrible. They're below average. And then you come to, you know, to the point where they even had when he was feuding with Jeff Hardy, where they made the joke where listening to you talk is like watching paint dry. I specifically remember that line, and that was all the way back in 2006, and I still remember that line as clear as day. And now, you know, he's come so far with his promos. I mean, the guy actually, you know, has a good demeanor, you know, and it's really a big progress. But somewhere along the way, they really lost track of Morrison. And now we're at the point where he's Johnny Drip Drip, shaving drip into the side of his head. Completely ridiculous. Like, I don't see, like, what the point of this is. And that whole thing, drip, like, all those street terms... I mean, I don't mean to date myself, but those words get on my fucking nerves. And the fact that, like, we've got Morrison where he don't even need to be doing that, and he's doing it, it's just horrible. I mean, just why? I mean, when the guy already has a cool look, why are you going to make him look like a total goof? What's the point? Are they telling him to do that? Does he think that that's, like, gonna, you know, get him over, like, as a living meme or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, we had this battle royal, which is full of guys that, speaking of, like, undiscovered futures, and guys like the Miz and Morrison who are just going up and down, you know, with no clear direction in sight, much like the entire roster. not just Raw but SmackDown. You know, all these people in here, like Mace and T-Bar. Where are these guys going? They take off the masks. Are they going someplace? No. I mean, they're just two big guys, two big goofs with nowhere to go. I mean, could they be something? Of course. Will they be something? Of course not. And, you know, you've got the New Day in here, which they're way beyond their expiration date. You know, these guys have been clowning around and goofing around for 6 years straight. Even Big E, who's broke off from them on SmackDown, is still dancing around like he's one of them. It's only a matter of time before they put them back together, and you damn well know that's going to happen. The Viking Raiders end up winning here. We've even got Randy Orton in here, along with Matt Riddle, but of course they don't win. You know, why make the biggest stars win? Give it to the Viking Raiders, who no one cares about. And you're trying to build up this team of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. Mick Foley putting it over. You know, this is the other thing we got to talk about here right from the beginning. I was thinking about maybe saving it later when Matt Riddle wrestled, but maybe we'll, like, jump back into it a little bit. But I am so sick and tired of people comparing things that are absolute trash to the, you know, or things that may have a little bit of promise, and they compare them to historic, classic things from the past. I mean, what can be gained from this? You're not helping these people, because when Mick Foley gets on Twitter and he's proclaiming, oh, you know, I got chills, or whatever he said, you know, I felt the same energy as when it was the Rock and Sock connection. Look, I don't know what Mick is thinking, and I've seen him do this the last couple of years. Mick is a genius. Mick is an excellent author. I read both of his books. I think he had another one, but Have a Nice Day and Foley is Good were two masterful, you know, autobiographies that I loved reading. I read them when I was young. You know, I read them when I was a preteen. And then you chalk up his entire wrestling career full of classic moments. The Rock and Sock connection got one of the biggest ratings in Raw history. And he's comparing RK Bro to them. I mean, you might be saying, well, Brad, he lived it. Wouldn't he know? Well, are you looking at the content? Are you looking at the ratings? Is anyone watching this shit? Of course they're not. Look, like I said, look at the ratings. It speaks for themselves. And you're saying this is the same energy. No one is feeling this energy. You're only going to see people go back to the network, watch the Rock and Sock moments, the classic moments like This Is Your Life, for them winning the titles for the New Age Outlaws with that big, huge pop at the end of it. And then you fast forward all these years later, 2 decades later, and we're seeing this, and it's not funny. It's not a good team. And we'll be talking about it a little bit later on. He's not doing Matt Riddle any favors. Orton doesn't need any favors. He's already over. But Matt Riddle probably does. But by making that comparison when the material is this pathetic, no one's going to go for it unless they're completely brainless or have no sense of taste. Then we've got Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce backstage, and they're there with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, and Charlotte's complaining that they need to take away Nikki Cross's victory over her from last week. She didn't pin her or anything. She just lasted 2 minutes. She said she wants it stricken from the record. Adam Pearce there, every single time this guy has his mouth open, he looks like a clueless goof. He looks like the biggest dumb idiot I've ever seen in my life. Like, why do they keep on going with this guy as the authority figure? During the pandemic, this would have been the perfect opportunity to have any of the classic GMs come back, or even just an older wrestler. You know, just pay somebody. Like even Kevin Nash could have been paid. You know, throw the guy a bone and give him some dough just to sit there and, you know, say the same lines that Adam Pearce is saying, but it'll make him sound a little bit better. And I'm sure he won't have his mouth open like an idiot. And Sonya Deville with those suits just looks so bad. And the I understand Rhea Ripley's going for tension or cockiness or whatever it is, but her acting is horrendous. Adam Pearce, gotta be the worst all-time authority figure I've ever seen. And you had Mike Adamle. Even that guy was better, and I've said that in the past too. But you close your mouth. When someone's saying something to him, he's it's like a fly's gonna go zoop, go right in his mouth. It's like a goalpost there or something. It's weird. I mean, I understand it's supposed to be shock, he can't believe someone's saying that, but there's nothing that shocking that your mouth has to be gaping open like that. We'll move on. That's enough about Adam Pearce's weird mouth. Omos is backstage with AJ, and they're mocking the Viking Raiders because they say that they could really go from some turkey legs. Well, guess what? Omos has a turkey leg, and he's not sharing. AJ's like, well, I don't know much about being a Viking, but maybe we could be Vikings, right, Omos? And is this supposed to be funny? Well, I don't know much about being a Viking, but I sure like to be one. I mean, and the Viking Raiders are just standing there listening to this. It's okay. AJ was a guy that was feuding with John Cena, in title contention with him, main eventing, and now this is what we're getting? Why is he even in the tag team? This is people make comparisons to Shawn Michaels and Diesel. Well, Diesel and Shawn Michaels are a tag team, but that came before Michaels went on his own. He didn't tag team with Diesel after he already won the world championship. Well, what a joke. He goes from not having a bodyguard to needing a bodyguard. And there's no explanation as to why this is. But here we are many, many months into this, and we're still not given a reason why this guy is backtracked all the way into the tag division. No, like I said, no one progresses in this company. It's like John Morrison, The Miz. They're back to where they started. They're in a tag team again. AJ is, he was world champion, and they couldn't figure out how to, keep that momentum steady after losing the belt. And here he is in a tag team, talking to some Vikings backstage. Anyway, Jackson Ryker and Elias, they wrestle to a count out. Elias just walks away from the match. Ryker had a new haircut. I like the promo before. I always like Elias's promo. Even when the material is not that good, he put over the fact that he's a veteran. Isn't it funny that, Ryker has been there for, about 3-4 months, on Raw, and only now are we being told, oh, by the way, guys, he's a veteran. Well, that would have been something nice to know ahead of time. Now, I know, they had the Forgotten Sons, and they showed them a little bit, but, they didn't get enough time to elaborate on it because they were only there. But, here Riker's been consistently there, and he's just acting like a roadie of sorts. He's in a Road Dogg Jesse James role with Jeff Jarrett. I mean, that's basically what the role is reminiscent of all these months. But, now all of a sudden, out of the blue, they just get the idea to start pushing Ryker, which they should have done from the start. It's not like they have so many amazing people. This is who should be wrestling Roman Reigns. You shouldn't be having Cesaro, Kevin Owens, all these goofs. Do you see what Ryker looks like? Those credentials? Now, I know we're supposed to be mad at him because, he tweeted something that some people on the roster may not agree with. It maybe annoyed certain people backstage. But get over it. He didn't do anything that horrible. And the guy, has money written all over him. The guy looks like $1 million, and it could translate into $1 million, in turn. So, I don't like the way that they're pretty much just kind of bitching out Elias, but this is a guy where, you've got his doppelganger over on SmackDown, his, not as good doppelganger, Boogs. So there's really no hope for Elias, but, at least we might get something out of one talented wrestler. It's just a shame because I really do love Elias, and I see so much potential in that man. But, it has been said, because the guy had ideas, he pitched them the creative, and creative got insulted, so now he's forever, stuck in this creative hell of not going anywhere and just going around in circles, being a dog chasing its tail endlessly. That is basically the career of Elias. Whoa! Just chasing his tail, not going anywhere. Nothing is coming of this. Are they building him towards a title? Are they building him towards the main event? No, he's literally been doing the same thing for like 3 years straight, basically. We've got Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley in the contract signing. And, Lashley and MVP, the presentation with the girls, the suit, it just works so well. And meanwhile, you've got Drew McIntyre on the other side of the table. And you guys know I like Drew. But they're dressing him like every single time I see him. He's becoming more and more Mel Gibson and Braveheart. And that's not a compliment. He's the Highlander. I don't know what he's supposed to be. But after the contract signing is done, and by the way, I already thought that this was a Hell in a Cell match, but apparently it wasn't. Well, it is now. He takes the sword and he cuts the table in half. Like, okay, I always said this, Drew belongs in the main event. But can you imagine, like, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Stone Cold, The Rock? Did you ever see any of these guys take a fucking sword and slice the table in half? I mean, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this just looks like, it was so stupid and just, I'm all for larger than life, and if you want to be over the top, but cutting a table in half with a sword, isn't that a bit much? I mean, just the sword in general, coming out with it, we're King Arthur's court. We don't even know what Drew is. We don't even know what this guy is supposed to be. He's the sexy Scotsman over a year ago. Then he morphs into Braveheart a year later. Like, this is a guy that wore the title for a year, and we still don't know who he is or what he's supposed to be. We just know he's a talented guy that looks great, but we don't know who Drew is as a person. He's just like a baby face that sometimes tries too hard, oh, I'm really excited tonight, just like all this stuff. It's just not working. It's bland. It's boring. They're making him boring. And we see on the other side of the table, we see Lashley, it's a good look. We look at these guys and I'm like, yeah, look at these guys. Not a guy sitting there in a kilt, but a guy wearing a suit. And I get these are the heels, but, you kind of want to get behind the heels because look how much cooler Lashley looks than McIntyre over here sitting there in his kilt. And he also doesn't have a shirt on. Even Piper wore a kilt. The Headbangers wore skirts. Even they wore shirts. He's over here bare-chested wearing a kilt. And it's like really like raggedy kilt because it's supposed to be the Braveheart kind. And it just looks so bad. We'll move on to Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo. It's a double count out. I will say I did kind of like this match. There was some good back and forth. There was no botches. If you got a match like this in AEW, there'd probably be at least 5 botches in the span of the time given to them. I don't like this whole thing of trying to scare Sheamus. Oh, I made you flinch. Like, these two guys, Sheamus should be taking their heads together and clunking them together like he's Mo. I mean, especially after what Carrillo did to Sheamus. Like, the way he made Sheamus look after that match reminded me of Seth Rollins with the knee. Or Joey Mercury in the the ladder match at Armageddon 2006. Now, the Armageddon ladder match, that was the ladder doing that. That was, the timing was off. Mercury didn't get out of the way or get his hands up in time, and we had a big mess on our hands. I think that was actually worse than what happened to Sheamus, at least from what I saw. But then again, I wasn't in the hospital with Sheamus, so I don't really know. So, but the thing what Rollins did, that made Bret Hart even take notice and say that this guy's a dangerous worker. Now, what Carrillo did was just plain stupid. And this is what happens nowadays with all these wrestlers and their kick pads, and they love throwing all these stiff kicks. Look what they did to Sheamus. Have we forgotten that Sheamus was the guy that, won his first world title from Cena? He was involved in high-profile feuds with Triple H and The Big Show. I mean, this is a guy that now we're looking at him years later, and this is who he's feuding with. And it also seems like Ricochet is on his way out. He's wearing jeans, he doesn't even get the tights. Remember when they made him that whole ridiculous-looking superhero outfit? It looked like MVP's full suit. You remember that? Yeah. Now he's just wrestling in jeans. It's like he probably didn't even know he was wrestling. He didn't even bring his tights. And they told him, get out there. It's all he had was his jeans to wear. MVP and Kofi Kingston had a pretty good moment backstage. And I was a little bit, taken aback by this. It almost seemed like this wasn't scripted, and maybe it wasn't, because, sometimes, once in a while, you get something that's not scripted. But this is a perfect example of how I didn't appreciate MVP. I've seen basically everything that MVP had to offer, but for some reason, there was just so many people in the Ruthless Aggression era that I did like, that I kind of overlooked MVP, and I didn't really like the guy, but the guy was always charismatic. He was always pretty good in the ring. He had a really good entrance. I don't understand what I didn't like about this guy that much, where I kind of really just said, I don't really care for this guy. But now I love him. Looking back on his stuff on the network and watching things a second time and looking at him now, this guy is just so much more miles ahead than anyone else. He's spectacular, really. Really good with promos. He just comes off as very credible. And this whole promo of how he told Kofi, you're chucking and jiving. Or I was like, oh shit. He actually said that. It was very true. And it's something that I say and other people have said, always goofing around, and Kofi can never be taken seriously. And that's the whole reason why I ragged on Kofi Mania so much. Because you have this dancing goofball with bright colors, that, first of all, doesn't even look like a star. This is a guy that's been here for 13 years and really still doesn't look any more like a star than he did. It's one thing Drew McIntyre, been there for many years, almost as long as Kofi, but he also took time off, did a total body transformation, and really just kind of made himself better all around. It's just, they're not giving him a chance to cut good promos. But anyway, you've got MVP and Kofi, and MVP is telling Kofi, the reason why Kofi Mania ended is because you let it end. And he talked about, that it was an inspiration for him to come back to the WWE because his kids and himself got to see a champion that they could relate to. And he's talking about him being a black champion. And I was like, wow, this is actually some pretty personal stuff. And I liked where it was going. And, this is something that we definitely need to see more of. A slice of reality, a slice of life. I mean, it shows also that their booking is terrible. I mean, if we have MVP saying that he's shucking and jiving, why is he shucking and jiving? You know what I mean? I've talked about this in the past. If you can actually criticize your own product in the promo, that means that you need to fix the product. I don't get, this should not be the butt of a joke in a promo. When it's supposed to be that it's bad and you're saying that the material is bad and the way you've been booked is bad, Anyway, I thought that this was good, and I thought MVP's delivery was pretty good. Kofi tried to reason, oh, I do this because my friends support me, and, I guess it was good reasoning and everything, but yeah, I was a pretty big fan of this little backstage promo that they put together. Eva Marie is coming next week, and, I can't believe that they're actually going to have her come back as a face. That's what it's rumored to be. Now, with everybody hating on her, all the smarts, I say they give her the Baron Corbin gimmick he had back in NXT. Have her be anti-smart. Have her hate on all these desperate smarks, Just, have her turn to the crowd and basically say, you can never get a woman like me, you bunch of nerds. It could be great. She could just really troll these crowds and drive them crazy, and she'd probably get way over. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try to, force feed her to everybody as being a baby face and being an inspiration, and it's not going to work. It's quite obvious it's not going to work. Jeff Hardy is back, guys, and he defeated Cedric Alexander. I can never understand like this. Again, another basic match for Jeff Hardy. And didn't he lose to Jinder Mahal a few weeks ago? Where's Jinder? Do we see Jinder anywhere? Is he hiding under my chair? Is he in my drawer back there? I don't know. I haven't seen him. But Jeff's back anyway. And he's beating Cedric Alexander. Alexander, you want to talk about the releases. I can see how they're going to keep him on, Shelton Benjamin on, how Ricochet is going to be kept on, and Humberto Carrillo. All these guys, you want to talk about making cuts. There's no real loss here from the way that you're booking them. You got talented guys like Shelton, and Cedric is not bad, I guess, but Jeff Hardy here, if this guy ends up getting cut eventually because they're not doing anything with him, what a shame that is. As I said, this is a guy that, he's sitting there doing absolutely nothing ever since returning to the WWE. I don't care what anyone says. He really hasn't done anything substantial since being back. When I sit back and I think to myself, what's the number one thing I remember about the Hardys? We'll just say Jeff Hardy. Probably wrestling Randy Orton in the Hell in a Cell. That's the only thing I could really remember about his return since he's been back in 2017. That's all I could really remember. Can you really name something? Because I can't. I can't really think of anything like that that he's done that's really substantial or been stand out. He had a bunch of pointless matches with Elias for months on end. He was in the Hardy Boys tag team, reunited with Matt. They wrestled Sheamus and Cesaro for at least 1,000 times straight. But, here we are, and, we've got, Roman Reigns on SmackDown struggling for opponents. Bobby Lashley has to wrestle Drew McIntyre 1,000 times. So I don't understand, it just seems like a wasted opportunity. And Jeff Hardy, is an established star. He's over. So, why is he... What's the point of him wrestling Cedric Alexander? You see what I'm saying? Is there a point to any of that? No. There's not. We've got Nikki Cross and Asuka defeating Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. And yeah, Nikki Cross is back in the fold again. Now being a title contender because she could last a few minutes with them. So now we have a match and Charlotte, turns on Ripley during the match. And Nikki Cross ends up getting the pin. And then both Nikki Cross and Asuka both dancing on top of the announce table like a bunch of goofs. Are you serious? Nikki Cross, are we supposed to believe that she could be in the ring with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley? And I'm not a Rhea Ripley fan at all. That another person right there stomping her foot like she's flushing the toilet in the public restroom, you know, like when you don't want to touch it with your hand. Big foot right there on the flusher. That's what I'm getting from that. And now we're being told that Nikki Cross is a contender. Like, you look at her and you're like, what? Like, out of nowhere. For no reason at all. You know, this kind of reminds me a little bit of the Peyton Royce thing. You know, I've got the passion. No one, you know, if I hear another person cut one of these promos, say they're passionate and they want to follow a dream or they deserve it, I think I'm going to vomit, honestly. Like, this is never how it was. Wrestlers just used to come out there and take it. Oh, like, oh, please, give me an opportunity on social media or like one of these like backstage shows like Talking Smack or whatever. Just pathetic. Mansoor defeated Drew Gulak and like, what the fuck? Well, like, what is this match even doing on Raw? Should be something that's on main event. Now this guy, they put him over a bunch of times on the Saudi Arabia shows, but now he's in the States, and now no one cares about this guy. And you have Mustafa Ali dressing in a suit, so now we're supposed to take him seriously. And he's having a chat with Mansoor. Then Mansoor gets the victory over Drew Gulak with a roll-up. You know, traps him in one of those little cutesy pins. Ha ha, I gotcha! So sick of those pins. And the other thing is this, like Drew Gulak. What happened to this guy? Remember when he was supposed to be training Daniel Bryan? Like Daniel Bryan was actually supposed to be taking tips from this jobber. We were supposed to believe that this guy was like a technical expert. Like he was a Benoit or a Kurt Angle or a Dean Malenko. That's really like what they were trying to build him up as. Like Daniel Bryan actually needed tips. Daniel Bryan, who main evented a WrestleMania. You know, this was last year's WrestleMania. Drew Gulak was in his corner. He shows up in an Old Spice segment. We don't see him for weeks after that. And then he shows up here on Raw. Now, I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe he was on Raw a few weeks ago or something. But I don't know. Like, what? Why is he even there? Then we have Kofi Kingston defeating Matt Riddle. And, you know, this is the thing coming back to Mick Foley. We're building up this team. Oh, same energy. You know, and we're gonna come back to this. I've talked about this time and time again about this same energy thing. That's Sam Roberts. I think he might have started it with the Bianca Belair and the Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks match at WrestleMania. Same energy as Austin Rock at WrestleMania 17. I mean, you know, when you make those comparisons, you not only make an ass out of yourself, but you're also showing people what a big gap there are between those stars. Also because those were real stars, and now you're kind of showing us people that are just not as good. Now, Orton's good, but Matt Riddle needs all the help he could get. He really does own his Spicoli character, and I do like Matt Riddle more than I used to when he was mouthing off against Lesnar and Goldberg years ago. But aside from that, you know, the guy needs help, obviously. They gave him a U.S. title. That didn't work. Now they're throwing him into a tag team, and Mick Foley is claiming that they're as good as the Rock and Sock Connection. And they're feeding Matt Riddle to Kofi Kingston. Because, I don't know, because of what MVP said, but you're also trying to build up a team here. It's not a good idea to have Riddle go out there and lose for no particular reason, just so Orton could get annoyed at him. That's not how the Rock and Sock Connection worked. You had two successful wrestlers, you know, that kind of didn't want to be together, but they would kind of found their way into matches together because they had some of the same problems. Orton's just kind of along for the ride. Well, he don't have anything else to do. He's already won the world title 14 times, so he might as well just, you know, go along for the ride with Riddle, I guess. And this whole like lock and key thing when like Orton wants Riddle to shut up is just not funny, or it's just not done well enough for it to be funny. So this is supposed to be the little thing, the little joke between them, and I'm not laughing or you know. And I said like the thing with Miz in the beginning. Sometimes stupid humor will make me laugh. It makes me laugh a lot of times, not really from modern day WWE. But, like, that's not funny. There's nothing really funny about this lock and key thing. And then, anyway, we get to the main event, and we've got Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler. And I'm going to just say right now, this is not really the worst segment I've ever seen on Raw. First of all, Alexa Bliss and Bayley was 10 times worse than this. But the whole thing with Shayna Baszler taking the doll, taking Lily the doll, stomping on the doll, then the fire comes up and Shayna Baszler starts running away. She goes into the back, she locks the door, she looks in the mirror, she sees the doll, she turns around, the doll's not there, she looks in the mirror again, the doll is there again, she turns around, it's not there, then she smashes the mirror and she yells. And throughout the whole promo in the ring when they're sitting on the swing sets, the acting from Shayna Baszler is just completely abysmal. First of all, I don't understand anything what they've done with Shayna Baszler since she's been on the main roster. Now, I know a lot of people are just going to say, oh, she was so much better in NXT, and that's usually the consensus. But then when you look at NXT, you see that what these people are talking about, it was never anything that great to begin with. But I said, Shayna Baszler came in there like a ball of fury. They had her beat everyone in the Elimination Chamber, which was smart booking. You know, just have her blow through everybody. That's a great way to cement her as a women's champion. Then they just feed her the Cringy Lynch. And that was it. And Cringy Lynch was on the way out anyway because she was pregnant. And she ended up giving the title up like the very next night, which was just completely ridiculous. You know, they built all that up with Shayna Baszler. And I think it was like McMahon really didn't believe in her. Well, you know what? Maybe they should have had her take off that stupid raccoon makeup all around her eyes and the greasy hair. I don't understand. I get they want to play her down. They don't want to make her attractive. They want to make her look tough. But she don't look tough. She looks stupid with the way they're making her up. So stop doing that. I've seen pictures of her online. She can look a lot better than this. You know, they don't have to make her look girly girl, but she doesn't have to look like a complete disaster area. Anyway, yeah, they really just dropped the ball completely with Shayna Baszler. I mean, I don't know really if there was a ball really to be had, but like, she ended up in a tag team for like an entire year or so with Nia Jax. Now she's not in that team anymore, and now she's doing segments like this, and you know, it's got to be about people playing roles that are meant for them. And someone like Shayna Baszler should not be in this hocus pocus segment. This was not tailor-made for someone like Shayna Baszler. This is not playing to her strengths. And then, you know, when it's not going to work like it already is not working, you know, they're going to like probably look at her and be like, why didn't you do better? Well, you're putting in her position right here where we know her promos are not good and we're having her talk, which is another thing like Bayley. You know, they always are giving the mic to people who can't talk instead of sending them for acting lessons. Look what a world of difference that made for Roman Reigns when he went and got himself acting lessons. Now even the smarks like him. So, you know, this segment, it was just completely goofy, you know, but I'd say it's like standard fare. I don't know why people are so shocked. We've been getting some pretty stupid stuff with her for a while now, so I don't know why people are freaking out. Oh my God, this was the worst segment ever. It was pretty bad, but I've seen a lot of really bad Raw segments. Like I said, Alexa Bliss was in one of them. And the one with Bayley, that was way worse. at least I could say that they got a little creative here. But then again, you know, like I said, if you're going to be creative, you know, and you're going to try to do something unique, this really wasn't unique, but, you know, I guess they've never really done something quite like this with a doll following somebody around. I mean, that could be creepy. I mean, I guess it is a little bit, but, like, I don't know, the way how it was presented, it just wasn't. And it came off really lame. And the scream at the end, just like, I don't know, it's just cringeworthy. Anyway, guys, what did you think? Were you happy that I decided to review Raw this week? I hope you were. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments about Raw. Did you watch it? Did you like it? Would you like me to review Raw more often? Would you like me to review Raw every week? Please say no. Please, for the love of God. Please don't. Okay, no. Answer honestly. If you really do, I'll think about it. I've done polls in the past, but let's do it in the comments here, really, where I feel it's more appreciated. Feel like I'll get, you know, better answers after watching the video. Anyway, guys, please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all notifications when I post on my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And I'll probably not going to do a Raw review until they go back to the live crowds, like I said I was originally going to do. But guys, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.